So Monday morning, it's getting colder, 8 degrees Celsius this morning. The plan for today is 10 by 400 in the pool, and then that's it, I'm done for the day. So I'm tempted to go for a light spin on the bike, but I might just stick to the plan. The spin would be something I'd add myself to the plan, but I'm probably not going to do that. I've got 3 chains that I have to wax, so I'm probably going to wax the chains today. And then I'm going to take it easy. I've got a little saddle saw, so I might just take the day just to let things recover. And then tomorrow it looks like another easy day as well, but today kind of like a maintenance day. As you can see, for the month we're currently here. So it's run, which I can't do. So today I'm substituting for a swim. Tuesday's the best day to swim at the pool because I've got no classes all day, so I might actually do another swim tomorrow, and probably a bike as well. I've got to take the girls to the dentist in the morning, so I'll get to the pool a little bit later. But then I've got swim here, which would be 3 days in a row of swimming, or 4 days because I swim on Sunday. So I'd have to make a call on that one. I'm not sure what I'll do. And then we get into the heavier biking and running towards the end of the week. So I'm back from the swim 10 by 400. I think it was an excellent set. I did 8 by 400 last week, and it was just a little bit short, so added an extra 2 this time. I think that's the right number at this stage of my training. So now I'm not going to be doing the bike today. I'm just going to follow the plan more closely. I'm guessing it's a rest day. I've got 3 chains that I've got to wax, so I'll be waxing the chain. Final episode of Daryl Dixon to watch, so I'm going to do some massage rehab while I watch that on my ankle, and cook some lunch. But first I'll show you how I wax these chains. So this is the crock pot that I use. I got it from Walmart for like $10. Amazon sells the exact same one for about the same price, but I just got this one because Amazon was out of stock at the time, but normally I'd order from Amazon. So this is the crock pot. I use this particular wax here. The only reason I use this wax is because it's the cheapest, one of the cheapest on Amazon. These things are all the same. This paraffin wax. Sometimes they chuck it 1 or 2 little ingredients. They claim to do different stuff, but it's not. It's just get the cheapest one. Some people even make their own. I'm too lazy to do that, but you can see here, because this is solid, because I just keep heating it, reheating it. I make sure I put clean chains in, so this should be clean wax. And this crock pot, some people will use a thermometer, but you don't need to use a thermometer with this one, because the main reason for a thermometer is to make sure it doesn't catch fire and get too hot. But this one is just too small, it just won't happen. It takes a long time to melt the wax, possibly over an hour. So I'll put that on before I do anything else, and I'll come back to it after lunch, and it should be ready to go. So I've got 3 chains here that need to be cleaned. I'll just show you. The silver ones are my indoor chains for the trainer. If you can just see up close, this is not actually dirty, this part here. This is excess wax. Some people like to clean that off when they do the waxing, but I can't be bothered doing that. It has absolutely no effect on performance or anything like that. So I just leave it on. I give it a quick wipe. Because what a lot of people don't seem to realize, it's like the oil or the lube that you put on the chain. You're not trying to do anything to these links. You're trying to get the wax into these little circles in between here. So the wax that matters on a chain you cannot even see. So if I show you my golden black one, this is my race one that I use for races. You can see there's a bit of the same stuff there. So, but what happens is that it does attract the grubby stuff off the road. It can get worked into the wax, so the outside can be dirty, but the inside in between the links is still perfectly fine. So what I do, don't worry, this is a dedicated cloth that I use. Make it hot. The bonus of
The bonus of making it hot is the hot will melt the wax more easily. And I just get a chain. I don't bother waxing the quick links. I used to do that in the past, but it's a bit of a too fiddly. And I just give it a very good wipe down like that. Just get both sides, do the sides and do the links. And so you can see here already, this looks much cleaner than say the end that I haven't done yet. It doesn't have to be perfect. I've seen some people, and I do this sometimes when I can be bothered, soak it in degreaser and break it all down. Probably every 3 or 4 waxes I will do that. I have seen other people as well that will actually soak their chains in boiling hot water to melt all the wax and put a fresh coat of wax. You can do that if you want, but I think it's a bit unnecessary. That's a more sort of, to me, it's a bit over the top and anal. I'm still getting over 500 kilometers out of a wax on these chains. So what I will do though is, because I've got to lube my bike chain for my everyday beater, which I use oil with, I actually use a bit of degreaser. So I'm just going to leave these chains to soak. Now that I've got the wax off, I'm going to leave these chains to soak in degreaser until the wax is ready for them. So this chain here, I don't know if you can see that clearly it's a lot cleaner just from a wipe down. Not perfect, you can still see bits in between, but you don't have to be that anal. The degreaser will break a lot of that down as well. And I'll go through and do all 3 chains like that. When I'm finished, I have this old coat hanger. I just hook the chains through there. It functions like that with a handle, so that I can dip it into the wax and just leave it so that they don't fall into the wax and get lost. Okay, so what I got here is, it's like a degreaser from Muck Off. I use this Park Tool chain cleaner, and these are my chains that I've just, you can see, looking a bit cleaner that I struck down before. So all I do, dump them in here. Pour the degreaser over, just so that they soak. I'll leave that for about an hour and come back to it. So this bike is my first bike I ever bought. GT Aggressor, it's like 15 years old now. Everything is still the same on it. See, I try and maintain a good drivetrain. So I'm just going to clean and lube the chain today. The back wheel's been replaced, but it's served me very well. I bought it in Melbourne. I rode bikes as kids, but never really had a bike as an adult. So bought it in Melbourne in Australia, shipped it to Singapore, rode it around Singapore, shipped it to Philadelphia, and I've been riding it around Philadelphia. So all I'm going to do today, give this a quick clean and then put some lube on. And it's good to go. I usually like to do this every about 100 kilometers. Keep it running nicely. I just use this little brush from Muck Off just to give them a quick scrub down in the degreaser. Not trying to be perfect, just to, if there's any low hanging fruit in terms of making it look a bit nicer. It's a 2-minute job, might as well do it. Just go along one side of the chain, flip it over and do the other side, and then do the rings. So now that I've finished scrubbing those 3 chains. I'm taking out the degreaser. I'm just going to give them a quick rinse with water, just because in the degreaser there's dirty bits break off the chains, and so they might have attached to the chain, so we'll just run it through. The total time for scrubbing the chain was about 10 minutes for the 3 chains. So it's not too, obviously waxing is a lot more work than just putting lube on, but it makes the chains last longer. And I find when I ride, it's not so important inside, but outside, I find the power transfer is better. You just give them a quick rinse, and I'll wipe them down and dry them so that they don't get rusty, and then they'll be ready to go in the wax pot. So it's taken about 1.5 hours, but this is pretty melted. That you can feel. I can see that this thing here. There's a small glob of wax that hasn't melted, but it's not a big deal. There's enough wax in there to get the job done. So you can see here, I just hooked the chains just once through so they go halfway down. The reason for that is so that when it comes out of the pot, then it can be hung to dry. Some people like loop it multiple times over and it becomes a big lump, but then it's harder to hang. So I just sort of float that in. We want to obviously get the whole thing submerged, so it takes a bit of wriggling to get it. This is a thermometer. I bought it to do this with, but it's just become a poker. So what we want to do is make sure the whole thing is submerged like that. So what I do now is I cut the power. It's hot enough, it doesn't need to get any hotter. And so what we do is every now and then, you can see a few bubbles on there, air bubbles. I give it a swish because we want to get the wax to go into every tiny little hole in the chain. Just make sure no bubbles are coming back up. And so we leave that. I'll come back about every 15 minutes or 20 minutes and give it a swish. I leave it until a skin starts to form on the wax, and then it's time to pull them out. Okay, so you see this wax here. It's just got a soft skin on the top now. You can see my finger pointing into it. So I can break it, but so it's still melted underneath. It's just the top's got the skin. That's when it's time to come off. So what I've done here, this is a bucket of, or a container of cold water. So what I'm going to do is quickly take the chains out, let it drip for a second, and then dunk it in the cold water, submerge it in the cold water. What that does is it quickly freeze dries all the wax and locks it all in place. So all the wax, because otherwise what happens is the wax can be too hot, and the wax that you want inside the rollers actually drips out. So you can see they're just nice. Look at that skin, that's perfect. So we're just going to take this, get it out, let it drip for a second, and then dunk it in the water. Make sure the whole thing gets underneath there. Just leave it there for about a minute or two, just to freeze that wax. And I'll just leave this other pot here, probably for a couple of hours to let it dry and put it back in the box. And so what I'll do after this, I'll put this up to drip dry for about probably 3 hours. After dinner I'll come back and show you the next step. So you can see here how effective that water is at locking all the wax into the links. So the chains are kind of locked into the place that they're submerged in the water. You can see, if I can get close, look at that wax skunked up on the outside. I showed you at the start that it was dirty on the outside, so that's not a big deal. This will all come off later, and a little bit will be left. But for now, just letting it drip dry. The water doesn't matter because wax is waterproof, so the water's not going anywhere where we don't want it to go. And I'll be back in a few hours. Okay, so the final step, I'm going to use this brush here. It does a few things. Importantly, this end, this hook. So you'll see this, it's all jumbled up. So the first thing I do is just bend it a bit straight. You can lose a bit of the wax like that. I do this on the basement floor because it's quite messy. You need a hearth brush and shovel at the end to come through and get all the wax. So I'll just show you what we're working with. So you can see in between a lot of the wax is gunked up the holes. So what we do, especially at the front one, like you see that's the pin. The pin's meant to go in there somewhere, but the wax breaks away quite easily. So what we do, I use the hook and just poke it through. Sometimes you have to go from both sides, and you have to make sure that each link can turn like that at the bare minimum. So you can see big chunks of wax are coming out. And so I'm going to go through this entire chain and do this to every single link. So I finished going through. If you can see here, it's pretty empty between the cogs. You can see the sides still have a bit of wax on them in places. But if you were kind of lazy or you didn't want to do the whole thing, you could stop now and just put this on your bike. It's perfectly fine. So what I like to do is use this side, and I just further will go through each cog like this, and also use a bit of this side. Just alternate, just to get all the loose wax, all the loose wax pieces, and it just makes it a little bit cleaner. And then after that, then it's finished. So now this chain has been wiped out. I'm just going to use a dry rag and just give it a pull through, just to get any loose bits of wax that are left. Try and stay out of all the dirty wax on the floor. You can see on the floor there's quite a bit that comes out of these things. So as I mentioned, this is ready to go. I'll put this on a bike straight away. Some people like to clean them up more, but it's not necessary. Everybody's got their different levels of where they want to go to, so I'm just going to show you what I mean by that. I kind of showed you with the dirty chain. So you have sections like this is quite clean, but then you have parts like this that has the wax on it. So that does absolutely nothing. So you can see it still flexes perfectly fine. So that's going to function perfectly fine. You look at the rollers are all nice and clean and shiny, so they're all going to work. Any bits of loose wax as well, like this is good. You can see through here, there's a bit of wax, quite a bit of wax through there. If I wanted to, I could go and wipe all that off, but it does absolutely nothing besides cosmetic. So I just leave it on there. And a lot of this will also come off on the trainer. So when I get on the trainer, especially after my first ride, there'll be a little patch of wax like this on the bottom underneath. So that's all done, and that's how you wax a chain. It's ready to go. So I'm doing some work on my ankle. The sore part is just right here. You can see this. If I can zoom in, there seems to be a vein running across here. It's right on that vein. Like it literally feels like something smashed me in the vein, and it's probably the size of 2 quarters, like going around like that. So what I do, I've got the Terra gun. I massage it for 5 or 10 minutes. I got this old sock, filled it up with rice, and I use it as a heat pack. Just put it in the microwave for 2 minutes. Put on some of this Bengay cream, and then this is a strap to compress it. So I use a Terra gun just on the lightest setting, which I think is 1750, and just kind of there's the spot right there, gently work it around for about 5 minutes.